Vâng ạ, đầu cầu Việt Nam đã sẵn sàng chưa ạ? Ok rồi đúng không ạ? Cô Trúc Thanh hôm nay có câu hỏi thì con xin mời cô đã có ở đó chưa ạ? Vâng, con mời cô có thể bắt đầu được rồi ạ. Các câu hỏi thì bằng tiếng Việt con sẽ dịch sang tiếng Anh, còn ai hỏi câu hỏi bằng tiếng Anh trực tiếp thì cũng có thể giơ tay và bật mic nói trực tiếp được ạ. Con xin mời cô Trúc Thanh ạ. There's a question from Nan Trúc Thanh.
Dạ. Chị ơi đọc nguyên cái câu lúc mà gửi cho chị sao chị?
Vâng, cô cứ đọc bằng tiếng Việt đi ạ, xong con sẽ dịch ạ.
Dạ. Con xin chào Achan, chào ông John và Sarah và chị Tâm Mạch cùng tất cả mọi người ạ. Thì liên quan đến việc an tịnh thì trong kinh chú giải tứ niệm xứ hay thanh tịnh đạo gì đó có cái chỗ nói đến 10 loại chuyện khi các tỳ kheo gặp nhau, thì nói về ít muốn biết đủ, ẩn cư, tinh tấn, giới, định tuệ, giải thoát và giải thoát phi kiến. Vậy thì câu hỏi con đặt ra là muốn biết về ẩn cư nó làm duyên cho sự an tịnh như thế nào, và con muốn nghe thêm về thực tại của ẩn cư ạ. Xin hết.
Yes, so her question is about what is said in the Visuddhimagga. Is it the part talking about Upanisaya Gochara? And in the definition of the term Upanisaya Gochara, it talks about a friend with 10 kinds of talk. And it mentioned, it listed the contentment, few wanting little, or few wishes, and seclusion, virya, samadhi, and sila, and panya, and deliverance, etc. So her question is, in what way the seclusion can condition calm, and she would like to understand more about the reality of seclusion. Is that clear? Yes, thank you.
So we're talking about the development of understanding with less and less attachment, contentment with whatever it is conditioned at this moment, with understanding conditions, wanting less. When there isn't contentment, we always want something different, what the other has, another reality at this moment, seeing a different object, hearing a different sound. So without contentment, there can never be wanting less. And we have to consider what the true meaning of seclusion is. I think probably viveka, because before the Buddha's time, people just thought about seclusion as bodily seclusion. For example, being in the forest with no equipment, no family distractions, no colourful clothes. They thought of this as being seclusion, just sitting quietly, living a simple life in the forest without any money or anything like this. But the Buddha taught the true meaning of seclusion means living alone with the citta now, living alone with whatever is conditioned right now. For example, at a moment of seeing, when there is understanding that this is the world right now, this is true seclusion, and calm is there at the moment of understanding. At that moment, no wishing for anything else. It is just the world of seeing. So at any moment of understanding, calm is there, not having to go to a different place or trying to focus on an object. That is lobha. Calm is when there is understanding only. So learning to live alone, live secluded with whatever is conditioned at this very moment, understanding what the world is right now. This is the true meaning of seclusion. And only this understanding of what is meant by secluded and living alone with the reality can lead to the final deliverance, the last one, but with right understanding right from the beginning. Without understanding, there cannot even be contentment. So from the beginning, it's with understanding, living alone, understanding the truth at this moment, no matter whether one's in the midst of the traffic jam in Ho Chi Minh City or whether one's in the forest. Seeing is just seeing, hearing is hearing, sound is sound, no matter very loud or very quiet, no matter bird sound or voice sound or traffic sound, it's just sound. So understanding what appears now is the true seclusion. With the understanding they are just dhammas, not self.
What is the true meaning of seclusion? What is the real meaning of seclusion? Can there be moment with seclusion? So first of all, what is it?
Câu hỏi cho cô Trúc Thanh đấy ạ. Xin mời cô ạ.
What about living alone with so many thoughts about people and things and works and social? Just live alone, no one there. But what about the thinking about such and such story and events? Is that living alone? So there can never be the living alone without understanding what is meant by alone. So does one want to live alone without understanding of what is meant by alone? That's why we have to understand the words of the Buddha. Every word is so very subtle, very precious, because it leads to understanding the very subtle reality at any moment. Right now, we are together. Are we alone?
Ultimately,
When?
there's understanding
What?
of Dhamma just one at a time.
So any moment of understanding, it conditions moment of understanding what is meant by alone. In truth, even alone is not anyone. Only a moment now is understood as it is. It's gone, and then the other moment arises, alone or not alone at all. And what is the ultimate truth of alone? Seeing alone, hearing alone, one reality, just one reality at a time, at that moment, tangled, not alone. That's why it has to be moment of considering again and again and again until the right understanding understands clearly or truly whether how much understanding of people take it for seclusion. Without understanding, it's impossible because there must be citta which sees many things around. take it for this or that all the time, not alone at all. That's why alone is moment which understand what is there alone. Nothing is there together. So each word of truth, condition, moment of understanding a little more of no matter what word Buddha taught. For example, tangle, see, alone, at moment of seeing, only moment. See, consider more and more and more. Is the moment of seeing is tangled or not tangled? Not just understand the words about it, the definition of it, but the truth of it. And when there is the understanding of the truth, one reality at any time, there is no doubt about what the word of Buddha said at all. For example, if there's the understanding of what is meant by alone, no matter what is there in the Tipitaka, there can be the understanding of the meaning of alone. Is seeing alone? Now come to just one moment. It doesn't matter. There can be more time to consider the truth by conditions, gradually, in what aspect? No expectation at all. This is the moment to understand a little more about Dhamma and Anatta. Otherwise, if we know a lot about this and that definition, but at that moment, no understanding of the truth at all, just the word. It's not the study of what is there now, but the word that Buddha taught just about what is there, tangle or in this entangle. Each word not enough to consider until it's there appearing as what the Buddha said, Dhamma, one appear at a time. If it does not appear, is there any wishes to have it appear? For example, seeing right now, begin to understand the truth that even is there from birth on and on, arising and falling away. But the arising and falling away does not show up at all. And even right now, that's why beginning to understand how dark it is at moment of no understanding of the truth of what is there now, arising and falling away all the time. So very rapidly. But learn to understand each one, to understand that it's there only when it appears. So right now, what is there only when it appears. At moment of touching, hardness appear, right? Not visible object appearing. So hardness appear only when it is there appearing, then gone. And this is the ultimate truth. From birth on and on, each life, and understanding what can be understood, what is now appearing. That's why right understanding is so very truthful. How much understanding of that which appears as it is, not anyone. That's why begin to understand wrong belief or wrong idea of that which is there, taken as something or someone all the time. And if it's not the understanding of this moment, little by little, stage by stage, how can it not be entangled?
Xin giải thích một chút vì từ entangle sáng nay cũng đã được thảo luận rất là nhiều ở đây. Nó có nghĩa là dối, bị vướng, bị mắc vào nhau. Và disentangle có nghĩa là gỡ rối. Và rối là tất cả những là hiện trạng của thế giới khi mà không có hiểu biết, không có bị chìm đắm trong vô minh và dính mắc. Thì buổi sáng nay có nói như vậy. Xin tạm giải thích cho mọi người biết hơn ạ.
And at the beginning, I think our sister mentioned Upanishya Gochara. So if it is the object that is the object of understanding, for example, if there is understanding of sound now, just sound that is heard, then this is the living alone with sound at that moment of understanding. If there's not the beginning of living alone or seclusion with the object appears, the Upanishya Gochara, then the understanding cannot develop to become firmer and firmer and to directly understand the reality. So I'm not quite sure why these were referred to as 10 friends, but perhaps we can say at the moment of understanding, understanding is a very good friend at that moment. And I would also like to ask one of our friends who is here, a friend from Cambodia, Riti, because we discussed a topic at lunchtime. Riti, at the moment of playing a game with one's friends or families, can there be seclusion? Can there be living alone at that time?
Hello everyone. Yes, Sarah. I think we live alone. Everyone is alone because the chitta is alone.
Right. So the chitta is alone, seeing is alone, hearing is alone, and when there is understanding of seeing, understanding of what is seen, understanding of one reality at a time, it is seclusion with calm at that moment, at the moment of understanding. Because when seeing arises, it arises alone, but there's no calm, no understanding. But when there is understanding of one reality, hardness that is experienced now, sound that is heard, at that moment, no matter whether in the town or playing cards or looking at Facebook, at that moment of understanding, there is seclusion, there is living alone. Conversely, if we're in the forest with no one around, sitting quietly, focusing on breath, is there seclusion at that moment?
If there is no right understanding, there is no seclusion.
Exactly. So we can be in what we think of as a very calm, tranquil place with no one around, no distractions, no internet, no friends calling us. But without understanding, there's just ignorance and attachment and possibly wrong view if one thinks that is the right place to be. So no seclusion. So the true seclusion in the deepest sense is the mental seclusion with calm and understanding. And it has to be now because this is the only moment there is. So I'd like to just ask our sister if any other questions or any comments on these points.
Dạ thì thưa bà Sarah, thì từ nãy giờ con nghe thì con có thể hiểu là ẩn cư ở nơi đây là có thể hiểu được hai nghĩa thân ẩn cư và tâm ẩn cư. Nếu mà thân ẩn cư, tâm ẩn cư mà vô trong chỗ vắng vẻ mà không có cái hiểu thì vẫn không được gọi là ẩn cư. Thì cái thấy cái nghe nếu mà có cái hiểu sanh khởi ở thời điểm đó thì mới gọi là ẩn cư ạ.
So what I have understood from your explanations is that there are two kinds of seclusion, viveka. One is a bodily seclusion, but even though one is alone in a forest, but without understanding, it's not real viveka. And the second kind of viveka is mental seclusion, and which is the moments of understanding the realities that
Có
appear.
nói gì không?
And so all the Buddha's teachings are concerned with the development of understanding of Dhammas, no matter here or there or wherever one is, because each one is conditioned to arise. If one thinks it would be better, easier, faster to be in another place, this is the story about I, and it's putting off the understanding at this very moment. It's a hindrance, it distracts from the right way, it's the wrong path when one thinks it must be another time, place, method, way. So have confidence that the understanding has to be now, no matter where or when. Like, yes, a couple of days ago we were in Ho Chi Minh, now in Bangkok, sometimes inside, sometimes outside. Seeing is just seeing, hearing is just hearing, no matter where and when. And when there is the understanding of what is the true meaning of living alone and the Dhamma arising and falling by its conditions, then there will be the understanding of what is the right effort, the true virya. There will be no thought of I making an effort, I trying to focus, I trying to have sati by going to another place or having another object. So the understanding is key for all these dhammas, for the gradual lessening of attachment.
What did we start to talk about?
So she started to ask about Upanisaya Gochara.
That's it. What we have talked about, is it Upanisaya Gochara? Even we don't use the term, but the understanding what is meant by Gochara. See, the Aramana is Gochara because Citta always wandering around, or which the object Gochara. So when we talk about Upanisaya Gochara, it means that whatever is heard is the Gochara to be Nisaya, habits of Upanisaya Gochara, more and more accumulation of what is heard as so true, each word. So I'm now talking about the truth of each moment to be Upanisaya Gochara. Otherwise, what we talk about while we eat, what we talk about while we shop, what we talk about while we meet parents and so on. That's why, what is Upanisaya Gochara? The Gochara of the Buddha and his followers. And now we learn to understand what the follower of the Buddha developed from hearing and considering. So we understand that when it's not the topic or when it's not the word about the truth, it's not Upanisaya Gochara because it shouldn't be habitual, built up, because it's useless. But now when we talk about the meaning of alone and what is there in truth from moment to moment, that is that which should be heard to have it as the habit for listening to the truth more and more. Otherwise, when we talk about ice cream, is it Upanishya Kochara? See, that's why just the word Upanishya Kochara, the truth of each moment that we learn little by little to understand it, to realize the truth, not just to understand. For example, right now, there is seeing. Why do we talk about it? To be Upanishya Kochara, not to forget that it's the moment of experiencing that which appears now. And it has to be a little more considering. It's the moment, a moment of experiencing what is there appearing. So there must be a reality which arises and experience the object that we should see now. But if we don't consider a little more, it's just seeing, experiencing visible object, that's all. But no thought and no careful considering to have attending to that which is there right now, no matter what. See, as just a reality. And what is about the truth of each reality should be Kochara, Upanishya, habitual, object of thought, no matter when. That's why even while we are eating, we can talk about the truth right then. Attachment to the taste or now. If there's no understanding of what is there, which is heard, not just the word, not just the sound, but the development of understanding. So even right now, talking about good friends or whatever, it's conditioned to be heard about the truth and develop the habits of considering what is there, not just a moment of hearing, not just the word, but the truth of it. So now there can be the understanding what is Upanishya Kochara, the Kochara of the Buddha and his followers.
The word, hello, the word Gochara appears in the context of conduct and resort. What is the proper or improper conduct and resort for a bhikkhu? And the Pali term for resort here is Gochara. Resort means the place where or the person with whom someone associates. It's where they spend their time. That's the place of resort. The place and the people. And the proper resort, the Upanishya Gochara, for a bhikkhu is, or for anyone who is studying the teachings, is to associate with the good friend, because that is where the Dhamma is heard. And when one associates with a person of understanding who is sharing their knowledge, understanding of the path, the discussion is about those 10 things that you mentioned. And they include the reference to solitude, seclusion, sorry. So that is the contact text. But as Ajahn is pointing out, in the absolute sense, the proper resort for a bhikkhu is the objects that can be, is the realities that can be the object of awareness and understanding. That's where the mind should be spending its time, as it were. That is why it's the resort of the Buddha also. The mind is paying attention to the understanding of what can be understood, rather than being distracted by other things. And this, when it is known what is the appropriate object for awareness and understanding, that is support for the arising of awareness and understanding in accordance with conditions. So it's really the talk about all these factors that is being referred to in the context of Upanishya Gochara. It isn't saying that a bhikkhu should be doing this or that, or going here or there, living alone or living among other people. It's all about coming to have a better understanding of the development of the path and knowing the conditions for that development by virtue of association or resort with a good friend in Dhamma.
Các đạo hữu nghe Zoom xin lưu ý tắt mic Zoom ạ.
So whether one is a good friend to others, whether one encourages one's friends with contentment, wanting little seclusion and so on, depends actually on the understanding. If we just tell our friends they should go and live in a forest or should take robes or should eat small helpings, is it the true
Bây giờ có
understanding?
có tiếng rồi Hường ơi.
Vâng, các đạo hữu lưu ý tắt mic Zoom ạ. Hiện giờ có một số đạo hữu không tắt mic nên là để âm thanh mọi người nó làm ngắt quãng pháp đàm ạ. Các đạo hữu lưu ý Zoom ạ.
Yes, if one says to one's friends, you shouldn't wear bright colors if you're even if you're a lay person, or should just eat this kind of food, or should live in a special place in order to develop more understanding, then actually it's not being a good friend because it's setting rules. Or if one says, if you play fewer games and you leave the household life, there will be less lobha. It's not a good friend because the habit of clinging is there, no matter whether in the forest or here, whether this lifestyle or that lifestyle. What about helping others to understand more about the truth at this moment? And then the understanding will work its way, and gradually there will be less clinging and more understanding of what is meant by living alone.
Cô Trúc Thanh có câu hỏi gì thêm liên quan đến chủ đề này không ạ? Tại lúc đầu cô có hỏi đến an tịnh, nhưng mà sau những lời giải thích của các vị thì không biết cô có muốn làm rõ thêm ý nào không ạ?
So shall we talk about one word or one reality at a time to understand it a little more, a little more? Just one word or one reality at a time. Otherwise they are mixed. So what word? It's time to talk about.
Upanishaya can be a word.
Kojara, Upanishaya Kojara, or just Upanishaya?
Just Upanishaya.
Okay. We have talked about it in the morning. Upanishaya. I see. What is Nisya?
Support.
What is it?
It's the support, for example, at this moment of seeing, there must be the support of Pasa and Vedana, Sanya, and the other Chaitasikas arising together, supporting it. So Nisya is the support.
At moment of hearing, is it the Upanishaya Kojara? Just one more word. When there is the understanding of Upanishaya, we can use Upanishaya Kojara to have a little more understanding of it. So each word of truth which condition a little more understanding should be Upanishaya Kojara, the object of citta to be habitual Kojara, not think about other things as much as before, but a little lesser and lesser. And then the moment of usually thinking about other things, it's time to think about the object of that which is now appearing, to study, to understand it more, to be Upanishaya Kojara, as Buddha and his disciples developed from before enlightenment. So without the Kojara, the object, like about Cetasika or Citta or alone and so on from good friend, can there be any understanding of the truth? Or can it condition moment of begin not to think about other object, but think about that which has heard, about the truth of it? So it's not anyone, but it becomes to be one's own habits, object, which just think about it a little more and a little more. So the daily life is a proof of how much understanding of what is heard. So now we heard about, if we talk about or think about citta, the reality, which is the chief of experiencing any moment, but it does not appear to be object of understanding yet. Only the object which citta experiences is there for any moment of attending with other cetasika to that very object only, until the understanding of citta becomes to be more and more to be habit, object, thinking about it a little more, in order to get closer and closer to not the word, the citta, but the moment, the reality, its characteristic, which at that moment no one at all appearing, otherwise it's just the object, which is not the citta, the reality which experiences that. So now we never forget there is now a reality which experiences the object just the word, until it becomes the habit to consider a little more, to be Upanisya Kojara. That's why as soon as we heard this word, we know what is the meaning of it. So now, what is your Upanisya Kojara? See, for the dressmaker, they have the Upanisya, but that is not the proper one, or that which will condition understanding the other object. Only the Buddha's and his followers' object should be Upanisya Kojara to realize the truth. That's why what is heard should, but it depends on condition, be understood at moment when it's there. Right now, it's not the object which thinking think about as citta or cittasika or alone, but when one is there, no intention to think about it, but the accumulation of Upanisya Kojara, conditioned moment of thinking about what is meant little by little of alone. Even one is alone. Is that what is meant by alone? Or when what? The Upanisya Kojara, thinking a little more about the truth of it, gradually until it becomes habits. Thinking about that more than other things. Otherwise, how can that be the progress or the development of understanding what is there now? So at moment when we are talking about it, even again and again and again, just to condition moment of begin, not to forget. All depends on condition. Even it's now, moment of forgetting or moment of not forgetting. The object is there. It's a proof. Whether how much it is there, the Upanisya Kojara of the Buddha and the followers.
So for that to be Upanisya Kojara, it has to be with understanding.
Certainly, stage by stage, and the second Kojara and the third Kojara.
It's referring to the object of the habitual understanding of that object, pariyatti understanding, what is considered wisely again and again, sound now, pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, visible object, whatever it is, whatever reality it is, that's considered wisely again and again. And without that pariyatti understanding, that habitual understanding of those different realities, there cannot be the direct understanding of them.
I think it's really precious to hear this explanation of Upanisya Kojara, and it shows that when there's deep consideration, even when we read the words that talk about situation and people, actually it just refers to realities. Yeah. It's wonderful.
And understanding can understand truly about Upanisya Kojara. Whether it's there a little more, building up, developing from moment to moment of understanding. So is that moment parami. See, there can be understanding of whatever Buddha taught by different aspects. So what parami? Again, go on. Upanisya Kojara, thinking a little more of the truth. That's why even someone talks about other things, but the Upanisya Kojara is there to condition the second one. the second Kojara and the third Kojara by conditions. And that is the way to let go, clean, and disentangle what is there tangled.
I think that most people are used to this word upanisya when we talk about conditions, pachya. For example, pakatu upanisya, pachya is the natural habit or way that the chittas and chetasikas are accumulated now. The attachment now conditions more attachment in future. It becomes habitual. The kindness now conditions more kindness in future. It becomes a habit. This is the natural way, pakatu upanisya, pachya, condition. And in the same way here it's referring to the object of understanding. So the understanding of reality, of particular realities, becomes habitual. Just like now the attachment to certain tastes is habitual, or the attachment to certain sounds is habitual. So the Gochara, as Ajahn said, is the Buddha's object, the object of understanding. Anyone can talk about sound, but usually it's the object of attachment. When it's the Buddha's object, the Gochara, it's referring to the object of the understanding that becomes habitual. And we read about aramanupanisya pachya, aramana, the object, upanisya, pachya, condition. So in this case it's referring to the object that becomes the habitual object of attachment, clinging. But it can be the object that becomes the habit of understanding too. But the Upanisya Gochara is just the object of understanding that is referred to. So table or chair or cup cannot be the Upanisya Gochara.
But it cannot be the second Kojara. See, little by little, from the first to the second and the third.
Maybe you can go on to the second.
What is the second one?
Araka Gochara.
At the moment of considering Dhamma, it's not the moment of attached to other things. And it araka, protect from nonsense object.
So with understanding there can be the araka gochara, the protection from thinking of nonsense any time, even whilst at home with one's family playing or something. And when we were talking earlier about seclusion and learning to live alone with the reality now, the understanding is the protection. And I was thinking of the example of Vikali, the Buddha's attendant, who asked several times to leave and go to the forest. And the first couple of times the Buddha said, no, stay here. And then when he asked another time, the Buddha said, okay, go. And he went to the forest to be on his own, but was overwhelmed with fear and came back to see the Buddha, because the protection, the araka kochara, doesn't depend on the place or the time. It's not the protection from the people around and the bad company, and it's not the protection from the lions and the wolves. It's the protection from akusala. So with more understanding of the right object. The understanding itself gives the protection. So it's not a matter of avoiding certain company or avoiding certain activities or going to a quiet place, but it is the protection from living alone, understanding the truth at this moment. No disturbance, no entanglement at that moment of understanding.
And as we know, sati, awareness, has the function of guarding the sense doors. And that is a similar idea to protection.
Trong tiếng Việt thì thuật ngữ này là hành xứ phòng hộ.
As understanding develops, sati develops with it, being aware of what appears, being aware of just the reality that arises alone, falls away alone. So it is guarding, not by following a practice, not by doing anything, not by changing the environment or the scenery, but by understanding the right object, the reality that appears now. And it's such a great blessing to hear the Buddha and to know that however life goes, whether one is sick on a bed in hospital or stuck in traffic in Ho Chi Minh, or eating food that is not good for one, or whatever the occasion, there can be the Upanisya Gochara and the Araka Gochara, the protection from akusala anytime, not by trying but naturally through understanding, always at this moment.
Dạ, phía Việt Nam có ai có câu hỏi cần cùng chủ đề này không ạ? Hoặc cô Trúc Thanh có thêm câu hỏi nào, hoặc là có câu hỏi khác chủ đề thì xin cho biết luôn được không ạ?
Glad to hear any more comments from the sister who brought up this topic, if she has any comments on what we've been discussing so far.
Nghe rồi sẽ thẩm thấu thêm lại, nhưng mà con rất là hoan hỷ có một điểm là khi mà mình có cái hiểu đúng thì nó sẽ hướng tâm đến để có thể tích lũy đối tượng đúng. Thì khi mà có cái hiểu thì thực sự hướng tâm một cách rất là tự nhiên, chứ không phải là mình mong muốn mình có thể làm được. Đó, thì con hiểu được cái điều này rất là sáng tỏ này, rất là.
She said that she is very glad with the explanations, because she can understand that when there's the accumulations of understanding of objects, it conditions other moments of wise reflection or wise consideration of the objects in a very natural way. So she needs to listen more again, but she feels very happy with what she has listened so far.
To be Upanisya Gochara.
And we can see how that understanding conditions a little more contentment, a little more wanting less, because less thinking, less disturbance, thinking one should be somewhere else, or it should be another object, or that there shouldn't be attachment now, or always something somewhere else. So a little more contentment with life just as it is, conditioned at this moment, not in anyone's control. It cannot be any different from how it is just now. The seeing now, the hearing now, the thinking now, just as it is.
Em thấy anh Tung Tung xuất hiện, không biết là anh Tung Tung có định hỏi gì không ạ? Nếu không có câu hỏi cũng không sao đâu ạ. Không có đúng không ạ? Dạ.
Seems like we are now together in one room. So is there any question or what is the object to talk about? Kun Vincent, here or Vietnam, it doesn't matter.
Would you like to have any questions? So maybe I can ask something. John, this morning you mentioned about the Buddha said that wrong view actually is the worst enemy, most dangerous enemy, akusala. So when talking about wrong view as being the most dangerous akusala, does that refer to all kinds of wrong view? Like
what?
Like the wrong view which doesn't see that karma and vipaka, who doesn't understand, who think that there's no karma and no vipaka, or the sakaya ditthi, you know, the wrong view, taking the khandhas for self. Yeah.
Yes, I think both are quite dangerous, Essentially, they're all the same mental factor. And it's not that there's either one or the other, because when there's wrong view, there's going to be many kinds of wrong view. So he didn't single out any particular kind of wrong view when making that statement. It's just the statement that wrong view is the most dangerous kind of akusala.
And without ignorance, no wrong view. So sometimes in some contexts it says wrong view is the most dangerous, and sometimes it says ignorance, but ignorance and wrong view.
Are you inclined to think that some kinds of wrong view are more dangerous than others?
No, I just wanted to make sure that, you know, because some people can think that differently, that the kinds of wrong views which don't believe in karma and vipaka are dangerous, but the other ones are not as dangerous. So that's why I wanted to clarify.
Right. According as the way I explained it, I think my understanding was that particularly wrong view as a basis for wrong practice is the most dangerous kind. Or the reason wrong view is the most dangerous kind of akusala is because it's the basis for wrong practice.
I think that what we read is that all wrong views emanate from sakaya ditthi. When there is a wrong view of I, someone here, there is the wrong view about something there, others, and all other wrong views like about karma and result. They all come back to the wrong view of self. When we read about all the wrong views in the Brahmajala Sutta and its commentary, they all stem from sakaya ditthi, wrong view. I'm wondering if Tong Tong would like to ask a question as he's on the screen. Do you have anything you would like to bring up, Tong Tong?
Dạ con xin chào quý ngài ạ. Dạ nếu mà nói về tà kiến và như cái hiểu của con á là tà kiến thì nó thường nó dẫn dắt bằng do cái sự không hiểu, nhưng mà con không hiểu rằng cái vấn đề là cái nguy hại ít hoặc nhiều á, thì con muốn được chia sẻ thêm một lần nữa về cái sự nguy hại ít hoặc nhiều, tại vì con nghĩ là tà kiến thì nó đều làm duyên vun bồi cho sự nguy hiểm, chứ nó không có cái gì hoặc ít hoặc nhiều ạ. Dạ con xin hết câu hỏi ạ.
Not sure what he wanted to ask. Anyway, roughly, I think what he said is, although he understands that all wrong views come from ignorance, but he's still not sure about why one akusala is more dangerous than another, because for him everything is dangerous, every akusala is dangerous.
And in the deepest sense, we can say whatever arises in samsara is dangerous. So we can go deeper and deeper. So not just a kusala, but even seeing now, hearing now, kusala, because it arises and falls away, and it's the object of attachment again and again. So life in samsara is dangerous from beginning to end. But without ignorance, no life in samsara. Once ignorance has been eradicated, no arising of any realities at all.
Just a quick comment. As John mentioned this morning, wrong views think it's right. That's why it's the most dangerous. Then that means wrong view would not accept the real right view, because wrong view think it's right. And it's come up and it's arise with attachment together. And when you think it's right with pleasant feeling, it's become the object of attachment. It's become firmer and firmer, make it more difficult to accept the right view.
Không biết là trong Zoom có các đạo hữu mới tham dự pháp đàm, mới bắt đầu tham gia Zoom, và đây là cơ hội để có thể trao đổi với Achan và hai ông bà John Sarah, thì xin mời các quý vị giơ tay để ban tổ chức biết ạ. Có ai không?
Let me ask Tong Tong, is there wrong view now?
Dạ có rất nhiều ạ.
A lot.
And what about ignorance?
Mình thì nó cũng nhiều hơn tà kiến luôn ạ.
There are even more than wrong views.
Là do khi con nhìn vào đây là con đã thấy cô Sarah rồi, hoặc là con thấy cô Tâm rồi, và có khoảnh khắc ở đó thì nó không có cái thấy và nó không có cái khoảnh khắc đó không có cái thấy và có cái nghe đó, chỉ nghe âm thanh và hiểu và đã nhìn thấy cô Sarah và suy nghĩ về cái âm thanh đã xảy ra rồi ạ.
Because at this moment, as soon as I see already Sarah is there and victim is there, and there's no understanding about seeing. Or when I hear, I already think about the meaning of what I hear without thinking about the hearing at this moment, no understanding.
And this is wise considering those who haven't heard about the Dhamma or have only heard very little. If they're asked if there's wrong view now, they will say, oh no, it's Dhamma discussion and so on. Or is it ignorance? No, not really. But the more hearing and considering and reflecting, the more appreciation there is of how there is so much ignorance and even so much wrong view arising as you say, before there's an idea of someone here or something here. Just instantly, yes. Better to know. And Zhao, as we can see you on the screen, do you have anything you would like to bring up today? Any question or topic?
Thank you. I'm not ready to have a question yet, so just listen. Thank you. Can you hear from me? Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
John is going to be now. It's coming now. The other day when we were in the bus, you mentioned about many people think that knowing that this is Dhamma. Because I think that maybe I will not quote you properly. So, but I just say roughly what I thought, what you were saying. That people think that when they know about the Dhamma, that is the characteristic of, that is knowing the characteristic of anatta, but not necessarily so. Would you please say more about that? Or just say what you wanted to tell me at that time? Yes, like
discussion we had in the bus.
yes. Because he was talking about the characteristic of anatta.
Yes.
Yeah, and I thought that you were saying that knowing this is a Dhamma, it's not necessarily knowing the characteristic of anatta.
No, I think what I said was that when wrong view has been eradicated, I think I said distinguishing between wrong view, idea of self, and the characteristic of anatta. I said they are not the same. The wrong view of self is a wrong view, and not knowing the characteristic of anatta is not the same as having wrong view, because it seems to me the stream enterer Sotapanna has eradicated wrong view of self. But in terms of the characteristic of conditioned dhammas, that understanding is not yet fully developed. So there is further development of the understanding of the three characteristics. And they, because that's what distinguishes, say, the understanding of the stream enterer from that of the later ones. It's not just that more agusala has been eradicated. The reason more agusala gets eradicated is because the understanding deepens. And that understanding is the understanding of the three characteristics and of conditions and of dependent origination, I suppose, and that sort of thing. So that's what I was saying. I thought that the eradication of wrong view does not mean that the understanding of the characteristic of anatta is fully developed. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. That I think that was an interesting to consider.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you.
Is anatta one thing and seeing another thing?
Anatta is a characteristic of all conditions, all Dhamma, conditioned and unconditioned.
If there's no reality at all, can there be anatta?
No.
So it's clear. Is it clear?
No more idea of atta, no more idea of something or someone, even a tiny bit. But even the understanding accumulates on and on. Even the arahats developed more understanding, but no more doubt, no more misunderstanding about dhammas as atta, even a tiny bit.
Why seeing is anatta?
Because there's no one in it. It just arises by conditions.
Because seeing is seeing.
Yes.
So how can there be other thing else? Hardness is hardness, not other thing else. Not something, not someone.
I suppose rather than saying the understanding develops on and on about with regard to the characteristic of anatta, it would be actually more correct to say the understanding of different realities develops on and on, and the different realities are anatta, but it's the understanding of more and more objects, with greater and greater understanding.
And what if seeing is atta? Ajahn was saying seeing is anatta, right? But what if seeing is atta? Then
Well, no one is saying that. So what do you mean by seeing is atta?
because in the sutta it said, the Buddha said, if it's atta, then I forgot the exact quote. I can have the seeing that.
Seeing, then it would mean that if it were atta, then it would mean I can make seeing arise, I can make seeing stay, and I can decide what seeing arises.
Right.
Yes, but it's anatta, not in
Right.
anyone's control at all.
Also, right, yeah,
So,
uncontrollable.
well, yes, and the idea is not just that what is seen is uncontrollable, but seeing cannot be made to switch on and switch off. It's like now it's not possible to switch seeing off
Right.
or
right.
hearing.
But that's part of uncontrollable, right?
Yes,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
but I'm just saying it's not just the object is uncontrollable, it's the actual control of the faculty as such.
And it's gone as soon as it has risen. No more. So how can it be anything else? It's gone.
But even the Dhamma is not gone. It's still anatta.
Again, please.
I mean, the characteristic of anicca is not 100% equal to anatta, because nibbana is the example.
Talk about just one reality. So, seeing its condition. We talk about seeing to understand a little more about seeing. Seeing is conditioned. It cannot arise alone or by itself at all. So as soon as it has risen from no seeing before, and as soon as it has risen, it falls away instantly, never to arise again. So where's Atta? Or how can there be anything else besides seeing?
Anh Giao đang có câu hỏi, xin mời anh Giao ạ. I think Giao has a question. He raised his hand.
My question related to the discussion yesterday afternoon when Kun Jyotika asked the question about is the reality like Dhamma? If reality was like Dhamma. So I listened to Ajahn very attentively. And have one point I heard from Ajahn. At the time we say reality, at this moment they are not reality. So I would like to hear a little bit more about this. Thank you.
There are always only realities arising and falling away in life. Chitta, Cetasika, Rupa. This is all there is in life, different realities arising and falling away. We can say Dhammas, it's the same. When Ajahn says, is it reality now? For example, is it visible object seen now? And maybe you say yes, and she says, really? What it means is it known to be only reality? Is it known to be Dhamma now? Or are we just repeating the word, oh yes, it's just visible objects seen? So the point is, it is just visible objects seen. That is correct. But the really means, is it understood as just a reality? Or is there the idea that actually it's a table or a person seen? And truthfully, what is correct at this moment? We know there is no table or cup, but truthfully, what appears to be seen now, as Tong Tong said, ditthi even now, most of the time, after seeing, hearing, and so on. So quickly it's the idea of something. So you're correct when you say it is just reality, it is just Dhamma, but when it's questioned, it means, is there any understanding, or are we just repeating the words? Does that answer the question?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr.
So if Ajahn asks you, is it what is heard now? And you say sound, she may say, oh, really? Are you sure? But if you say it's a voice heard now, wrong understanding. So the point is just to help the listener to consider carefully for themselves, not just repeat the book knowledge.
Yeah, thank you. So helpful. Thank you.
Even just the question about what is there now? No sudden answer, right? What is there now? Why is not sudden answer? All gone. No matter what, in a moment. So they must be thinking what is there at that very moment. Because so quickly, what is there, all gone. So what is the answer? What is there? All gone. Is that true? What is there now? How can one know what is there right then? All gone. And the question can be further, what's gone? All gone. And this is Upanisya Kojara. Little by little, think a little more, consider a little more.
And what arises and is gone is anatta. It's not in anyone's control, but no reality belongs to a self, is experienced by a self, is in anyone's control at all, because there is no one. So this is why even nibbana is anatta. It doesn't belong to me. I cannot make nibbana appear. It's a Dhamma that is there only at those moments of lokuttara citta to experience it, not by anyone's will at all. So any Dhamma is anatta.
Con cảm ơn chia sẻ của bà. Nhưng mà hồi nãy bà A Chan đã trả lời thì đã làm bắn một mũi tên rất là đau vào trái tim của con. Khi bà hỏi là cái thấy có phải là một từ xin lỗi cô Tâm, có phải cái thấy là một từ ngã không cô Tâm hồi nãy?
Vì sao cái thấy là anatta?
Dạ. Vì sao cái thấy là vô ngã thì trong cái thời điểm đó con lại nghĩ rằng là tại do nó sanh diệt, rồi do nó không tồn tại. Nhưng khi bà nói là cái thấy nó là cái thấy chứ nó không phải là một từ ngã, thì cái thấy nó là cái thấy, thì tự nhiên một mũi tên nó đâm ngay vào tim con luôn. Và hiện tại bây giờ con đang thoi thóp.
He said that when you ask the question, why seeing is anatta, the answer that he was thinking was because it arises and falls away. But then you said that seeing is anatta because seeing is just seeing. He felt like you were shooting an arrow into his heart.
Good? Or not good?
Khi ý của Achan nói là nếu mà anh nói
rất là hạnh phúc ạ.
Very, very happy, he said.
Of joy, understanding the truth a little more. To be Upanisya Kojara, we repeat again and again in order to not forget the meaning of it.
I'm just asking Ritti here because he's going to be leaving in the morning. Is it useful to keep hearing about Dhammas and the Upanisya Gotra, what is to be understood now, and the meaning of living alone now?
Yes, Sarah, it is very useful to keep hearing and consider about the Dhamma. From my experience, even though I have not understood it, but the hearing now can condition my understanding better in the future. So, and it is anatta, the understanding is anatta. No one knows when it will come. So, it is very useful to keep hearing the Dhamma. Yes.
And the understanding of Dhammas as anatta more and more is a way to think less about what should I do in this situation, or how can I make the others think this way, or what is the way to be with my family but not involved in their frivolous talk or activities, because there's more and more appreciation that there is only Dhamma now and it's conditioned. So less worry or distraction or concern about different situations, but it's a very slow, gradual way.
Because Sarah used to mention that it is a relief when hearing about the Dhamma. So I think I started to understand that now. Yes.
A relief to know if one's standing at the queue in the airport or here or in Cambodia or Vietnam or Australia. Seeing is just seeing, hearing is hearing, living alone at each moment. Learning gradually with understanding to be contented with just what is conditioned now, the reality which can be the Upanisya Gochara, the object of wise considering and understanding again and again, not by repeating a mantra or not by just repeating the words that seeing, sees, visible object and so on, but considering a little more, more and more relief.
Thank you, Sarah.
And the words of the Buddha have to be explained by a good friend who really understands them, because many words of the Buddha are spoke out without understanding and it's not helpful.
That's why we read the Sutta, the Vinaya, and Abhidhamma.
And I think we all help each other. So these questions and the topics that the friends in Vietnam or anywhere bring up, it's very helpful for all of us to consider. Like we said, the understanding has to develop on and on and on. So there has to be the wise considering, the reflecting, the deepening of understandings for all of us. So we appreciate all of you as our good friends too.
Thank you, Achan, John and Sarah. Thank you. Rồi, chúng ta sẽ kết thúc buổi pháp đàm hôm nay ở đây. Xin tỳ hỷ phước thiện của tất cả các đạo hữu. Hẹn gặp lại các đạo hữu vào buổi pháp đàm tối thứ 3 tới ạ. Sa du, sa du, sa